Hello, everybody. This is Majid George. Here we are again. Now I'm coming with multiple choice questions. That is from Unit 4, evolution, of course. Some 30 questions. Let us choose it together. The first question: who proposed that the first form of life could have come from pre-existing non-living organic molecules? Of course, uh, that is the organic theory of evolution as far as origin of life is concerned, or it's also known as biochemical evolution or origin. Therefore, the two scientists, the Russian Oparin and Haldane. B is the answer, of course. Here, the answer is B. Question number 2. Why was the spontaneous generation theory rejected? Let's see the choice. A. It could not explain the origin of a universe. B. It could not explain the origin of the Earth. C. It could not explain how the first life form came on Earth. D. It couldn't explain how the spores from outer space were transferred to the. Therefore, the answer is, of course, it couldn't scientifically explain how the first life form came on Earth. The answer is B. Question number 3. A reduced form of functional structure in another organism is reduced form of a functional structure in another organism. It's functional in another organism, but in the ancestral, near ancestral form, it is reduced and usually non-functional. Therefore, the multiple choice. The choices are A. Homologous structures, B. Analogous structures, C. Comparative structures, D. Vestigial structures. The answer definitely is vestigial organs. These vestigial structures or organs or structures which have lost their function so that they diminished, their size reduced, whereas they are functional in the other in another organism. Question number 4. In evolution, the studies can be made at molecular level. For example, the proteins present in blood of man and ape are similar. The base sequence in nucleic acids and amino acid sequence in proteins of related organisms is unlike or similar. These are the examples which are specifically referred to as A. Convergent evolution, B. Molecular analogy, C. Molecular homology, D. Homoplastic appearance. Of course, it is homology. Homology refers to having homologous behavior, homologous structures which are derived from common ancestor, of course. Therefore, molecular homology. If we are studying about similarity in molecules, these are molecular homology. Uh, 5. Stabilizing selection favors. Stabilizing selection favors A. Both extreme forms of a trait. B. Intermediate forms of a trait. C. Environmental differences. D. One extreme from the other. Extreme and intermediate forms of a trait. The answer is stabilizing selection favors the intermediate, the average population with the average trait, of course. Question number 6. The following diagram provides an example of, look there, the Australian marsupials gave rise to different types of organisms in different geographical areas. Therefore, this is simply an example of divergent evolution, which is related with, which is adaptive radiation, of course. Question of A. Convergent evolution, B. Parallel evolution, C. Recapitulation, D. Divergent evolution. Therefore, the answer is divergent evolution, definitely. Question number 7. This is not an example of vestigial organ in humans. A. External ear, B. Reduced tailbone. C. Wisdom teeth. D. Intestine. All the above are vestigial organs. This intestine is not. Number 8. Which concept was not included in Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection? A. Survival of the fetus. B. Struggle for resistance. C. Overproduction of offspring. D. Punctuated equilibrium. Definitely, this is simple. This is the answer. This is not part of the postulates of Charles Darwin, of course. The study of homologous structures in mature organisms provides evidence for the evolutionary relationship among certain groups of organisms. Which field of study includes this evidence of evolution? Homologous structures. Very simple. Comparative cytology, biochemistry, geology, comparative anatomy. Definitely the answer is comparative anatomy. Question number 10. Which one is an example of analogous organs? A. Brains of fish and humans. B. Thorns and tendrils in plants. C. Wings of birds and butterflies. D. Forelimbs of frogs and horses. Definitely, analogous structures are structures which are examples of convergent evolution and this same function but ancestrally unrelated. Question number 11. The extraterrestrial origin of life is also known as the theory of panspermia or the spore bros theory. The spore. A. Natural selection. B. Origin of species. C. Continental drift. D. Theory of panspermia. Panspermia. This means some living structure, living components are brought by some flying objects from outer space, from somewhere. Terrestrial origin. The answer is D. Question number 12. Two nucleotide sequences found in two different species are almost exactly the same. This suggests that these species are evolving into the same species. B. Contain identical DNA. C. May have similar evolutionary histories. D. Have the same number of mutations. Of course, this tells us comparative biochemistry. That means evidence for the fact that they share similar evolutionary history. The answer is C. Question number 13. The structural similarity between the flippers of whales and the arms of humans are used to show that the human species began life in the oceans. Whales are older than the human species. Human species and whales have a common ancestry. Whales evolved from the human species, and the answer is having common ancestry. Question number 14. Wings of pigeons, bat, and mosquito exhibit the phenomenon called convergent evolution, divergent evolution, atavism, all of this. Wings of pigeon, bat, and mosquito exhibit the phenomenon called they have wings that are this. The answer here is A. Convergent evolution, because these two, though these two have wings that may be related in ancestrally, a mosquito wing is totally different. So that the answer could be A. Question number 15. Adaptive similarities in different animals living in the same habitat. Adaptive similarities in different animals living in the same habitat is called, that is, retrogressive evolution, parallel evolution, adaptive radiation, and convergent evolution. Of course, it is a convergent evolution. The answer is D. Question number 16. Lamarck's theory of evolution is also called A. Survival of the fittest. B. Special creation theory. D. Inheritance of acquired character. D. None. C is the answer. Inheritance of acquired characters, of course. Question number 17. Convergent evolution can occur when different organisms inhabit different environments. Different organisms inhabit similar environments. Similar organisms inhabit similar environments. Similar organisms. Of course, convergent evolution is shown in different organisms that inhabit similar environments? The answer is B. Question number 18. The concept that species have changed over a long period of time is known as A. Ecology, B. Embryology, C. Spontaneous generation, D. Organic evolution. The concept that species have changed over long periods of time is organic evolution, of course. Okay, number 19. Darwin's theory of evolution can't explain A. Arrival of fittest, B. Natural selection, C. Overproduction, D. Struggle for existence. There is no such postulate in Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection, arrival of the fittest. It is survival of the fittest rather. This is very simple. Question number 20. In disruptive selection, the selection pressure operates A. in favor of those individuals showing the mean values for a feature, B. in favor of those individuals at one extreme of the range of values for a feature, C. in favor of those individuals at both extreme of range of values for a feature, D. none. Of course, disruptive selection or diversifying selection the selection pressure operates in favor of those individuals at both extremes. In favor, it works against in favor of those individuals at both extremes of the range of values. Then the answer is C. Question number 21. Analogous structures are all except they have the same function, they have different internal structure, they have developed differently, they are the result of adaptive radiation. The answer is this is not right about analogous structures. 22. The gases used in the spark discharge apparatus were H2, CH4, NH3, CO, NH3, CH4, O2, CO2, NH3, NH3, CH4, O2. The answer is A. Hydrogen. There was a hydrogen, of course, methane and ammonia. This includes all. Question number 23. The study of homologous structures in mature organisms provides evidence for the evolutionary relationship among certain groups of organisms. Which field of study includes this evidence of evolution? A. Comparative cytology, B. Biochemistry, C. Geology, D. Comparative anatomy. Definitely comparative anatomy is the answer. 24. In a population of 1,000 individuals, 360 belong to genotype AA. That means homozygous dominant. 480 belong to the heterozygous dominant. And the remaining are the remaining 160 to small a, the recessive. Based on this data, the frequency of allele A in this population is A 0.4, B 0.5, C 0.6, D 0.5. Therefore, what did it ask? The frequency of allele A. You see now, out of 1,360 belong to genotype AA. This means P squared. Therefore, take out the frequency of AA. That means 360 over 1,000. This means 0.36. Therefore, P squared is equal to 0.36. Therefore, P is equal to the square root of 0.36. P is equal to 0.6. 0.6 is P, the frequency of dominant allele. The frequency of allele A. Therefore, the dominant allele is 0.6 is the answer, of course. The answer is 0.6. You can see here, AA is P square. P square means the frequency is 360 over the number of individuals with AA. Therefore, this is P is equal to the square root of 0.36. When you take out of the square, it becomes what? 0.6. Or AA is Q square. Q square is 160 over 1000. This gives you 1.16. Q is equal to the square root of 0.16. When you take out of the square, 0.4. Therefore, you subtract 0.4 from 1. Therefore, you can do this question in two ways. It is very simple. Question number 25. By the statement, survival of the fittest, Darwin meant that A, the strongest of all the species survives, B, the most intelligent of the species survives, C, the cleverest of the species survives, D, the most adapted of the species. Therefore, the formal language is most adapted, most well adapted individuals. D is the answer. Question number 23. Which theory about the origin of life on the planet goes with the steady state theory? Of course, this is one steady state theory. This correlates with the eternity of life theory as far as the steady state, the origin of life, the eternity life theory. Let us go. A, eternity of life theory, B, cosmos theory, C, biochemical theory, D, creationist theory. Therefore, the answer is A, that is eternity of life theory is related with steady state theory about the universe. Therefore, those scientists who believe the steady state theory also believe eternity of life theory as far as origin of life is concerned. Life has no origin and no end. It will remain as it is forever. This is simple. Question number 27. Evolution is best described as A, genetic change in an individual, B, a genetic change in an individual that is passed on through successive generations, C, a genetic change in populations, D, a genetic change in population that is passed on through successive generations. Of course, this is definitely the right definition for evolution. In evolution, the studies can be made at a molecular level. For example, the proteins present in blood of man and ape are similar. The base sequence in nucleic acid. I think this question has been repeated. Of course, this is what? Molecular. We have done it already. Repeated. Mistake. Sorry. Question number 29. In this case, 28 means a population of Madagascar hissing cockroaches live in a wood pile. It suffers heavy predation from lizards. Because their heads are small, the lizards are unable to eat the very largest adult cockroach and instead prey upon small and medium-sized adults. What type of selection do the lizards impose on the, you see? They feed on the small end. Therefore, it is definitely it is directional selection. Directional selection. And 30, if 9% of an African population in malarious area is born with a severe form of sickle cell anemia, what percentage of population will be more resistant to malaria because they are heterozygous for the sickle cell? It's very simple. Very simple. A, 50%, B, 16%, 60.38%, D 42%, C 42%, D 18%. And the answer is, of course, you can calculate it. If 9% of an African population in malaria-prone areas born with a severe form of sickle cell anemia. You see, sickle cell anemia, which is heterozygous. recessive genetic disorder. What percentage of the population will be more resistant to malaria? Because they are heterozygous for. Therefore, 9%, 9 over 100 means this is the frequency, Q square, frequency, 9 over 100. This means the frequency of this means 9 over 100 means 0.09, 0.09. This is Q square. Q square. This is Q square. Therefore, Q is equal to 0.3. Therefore, P is 0.7. You are asked heterozygous. Heterozygous means 2 times P times Q. 2 times 0.3 times 0.7. 2 times 0.3, that is 0.6. 0.6 times 0.7, that is 0.42. 0.42 is the frequency of the heterozygous, which are protected from malaria. Having one sickle cell allele is protective against malaria. Therefore, 2PQ, therefore it is 0.42, which means 42%. The answer is this one. And thank you very much. We are done for this session. I have already did it here. You can have